What's up everybody, thank you for checking this video and welcome back to the PHP for Beginners series. In the previous video we implemented our first simple router to handle the traffic incoming into our PHP application. Of course, keep in mind that what I'm showing you in these tutorials is a very simplistic and plain approach to PHP, targeted specifically to give you the basics and get you comfortable with the concepts. This type of code wouldn't make sense in a real-life application and it wouldn't scale at all. So in this video we're going to take a look at how we can optimize our router and make it a little bit more dynamic and resilient. Let's get started. First, let's give a bit of organization to our files by moving all those pages into a dedicated subfolder we're going to call views. A clean and readable file structure is vital for a long-lasting application. Now let's update the requires in our router to specify the new location of our view files. You might think that referencing those view files inside the views subfolder is totally fine, which in most cases is, but there's a very common flaw in doing something like this. The problem with this approach is that if we end up with a multi-layered view structure with multiple child pages, files, and various levels of hierarchy in our sitemap, PHP might fail to actually find those files because we are not pointing to their absolute path, but rather the relative path we currently are in right now. For these reasons, it is always recommended to use the dir magic constant of PHP, written in between double underscores. The dir magic constant will always return the absolute path directory of the file in which it is used. Therefore, we will never find ourselves in a situation in which the file can't be found or the location is incorrect, since we require a file from its absolute path, making it a fixed point in our file structure. Let's add the dir constant to all of our requires and concatenate the string with a period. Remember to add the / before the file or folder name, since the dir constant doesn't come with a trailing slash. Using this might not make much sense right now, since our structure is very simple, but in the future, once we start including and requiring more files and making our application more modern and dynamic, not using the dir constant will make it very hard to reference the correct location of those files. At this point, this doesn't look very dynamic nor scalable, forcing us to create a new case for every new page that we want to add and repeating the same code over and over again just to require the file matching the request URI. Let's take a look at how we can remove a lot of repeated code and make this code a bit smarter. Let's comment out the about and contact cases, since we want to handle those dynamically, and only leave the empty and / condition active. Now, in the default condition, let's dynamically generate the file name we want to potentially require by creating a variable called $filename or whatever you want, and composing it with the dir constant, followed by the string representing our views directory, and then concluding with the .php extension. In doing so, we will be able to automatically generate the absolute path of the file name the user might request when browsing through our application. But before going ahead and requiring that file, we need to make sure that it actually exists. To do that, we can use a built-in function of PHP called file_exists, which accepts a string parameter containing the URI of a file that needs to be confirmed of its existence. We can use this method as a condition since it returns a Boolean response, true or false, and if the condition is true, we can require the file and break out of our switch case. If this condition is false, the code will continue and return the 404 we defined in the previous lesson. And it looks like I wrote something wrong, since I know we have the about.php file, but the code doesn't work. Let's quickly echo our file name to visually validate it. Oh, I see. I added an extra slash and forgot the period before the PHP extension. My bad. Perfect. Everything works as expected. We can now delete the previously commented out code, and there we go. We created a very simple and somewhat smart router to handle incoming traffic without requiring to update it every time we want to create a new page. Another very simple optimization we can do here, and something that you might normally see in various PHP applications, is to move our router code to its own dedicated file and require it once in the index.php. This is a common practice used to keep the index file simple and clean, and keep the paradigm of having one file doing one thing, making our structure easier to read and update. Well, that's pretty much it for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to the channel. Be sure to ring the bell to not miss any upcoming tutorials on this series. Thank you so much for watching, and happy coding!